64-bit sounds like it should be twice as powerful as 32-bit, right? Not exactly. You've probably seen 32-bit and 64-bit written on Windows installations, CPU boxes, and software download pages. The labels are ubiquitous. But what do they mean? Does 64-bit guarantee double speed? Does it give higher frame rates? And why did the entire tech industry move toward this standard? Understanding what these numbers represent will change how you evaluate computer hardware and software performance. At the foundation of all computing is a binary digit, or a bit. It is a single electrical signal that represents either a 0 or a 1. When we talk about 32-bit and 64-bit, we refer to the specific width of operations and address values a computer architecture handles. Imagine two roads. A 32-bit system is a narrow information pathway. A 64-bit architecture provides a wider highway for data. This road metaphor is a simplified way to visualize data flow, but it misses the actual constraint that drove the industry to evolve. That limitation was centered on memory. If it isn't just about the width of the road, why did 64-bit become the architectural standard for the modern PC? The answer lies in memory addressing. RAM functions as a massive grid where every single byte of data needs its own unique spatial address, so the CPU can locate and retrieve it. A 32-bit address system has a mathematical limit. 2 to the power of 32 provides precisely 4.29 billion possible unique memory addresses. In typical computing environments, those 4.29 billion addresses translate to a physical ceiling of roughly 4 gigabytes of addressable RAM. No matter how fast a 32-bit processor is, its architecture cannot see or use any physical memory installed beyond that 4 gigabyte limit. A 64-bit system moves the goalposts. 2 to the power of 64 expands that ceiling to 18 quintillion possible addresses. It is a scale that is practically infinite by today's standards. This 18 quintillion is a theoretical maximum. Real-world usable memory is limited by the hardware design of your motherboard, chipset, and operating system. But having access to a massive memory space does not make the CPU faster on its own. Performance depends on factors like core count, clock speeds, and instruction efficiency. Expanding the memory addressing is like installing a larger fuel tank on a vehicle rather than a faster engine. It provides the capacity required for massive tasks without dictating raw processing speed. Decades ago, computer software required very little memory. The applications running in these workstation environments operated within megabytes of RAM. Even flagship operating systems were once built for an era where a 4 gigabyte ceiling felt like a distant, unreachable limit. As software evolved, the data requirements increased. 3D rendering, video editing, and complex AI workloads required massive datasets to be held in memory simultaneously, quickly hitting that 4 gigabyte wall. This transition allowed hardware to scale up to 16, 32, or 128 gigabytes of memory, accommodating the massive datasets that modern applications now require. Hardware shifted because software required a larger spatial reality to function. For software to run, 3 layers must align: CPU hardware, operating system, and application. A 64-bit OS can run older 32-bit applications, like a small object inside a large room. But the reverse is impossible. A 32-bit OS cannot host a native 64-bit application. 32-bit architecture is still used today in legacy factory equipment, embedded devices, and specialized hardware that will never need more than a few gigabytes of memory. This one-way compatibility allowed the technology ecosystem to migrate to a new standard without instantly breaking the existing software base. Now, here is the question gamers often ask. Does installing a 64-bit version of a game actually increase your frame rate? No. Your frames per second are dictated by your graphics card, your CPU clock speed, and engine optimization. The architecture label alone does not generate frames. However, modern AAA titles mandate 64-bit environments because rendering sprawling open worlds and high-resolution textures requires memory pools that exceed the 4 gigabyte limit. 32-bit is a legacy architecture restricted by its 4 gigabyte cap. 64-bit is the high-capacity standard that supports modern systems, professional workloads, and today's gaming engines. 64-bit architecture provides the framework required for modern software to access and manage massive memory pools. It is a shift in scale rather than a simple increase in clock speed. Check your own system settings. Is your PC running a 32-bit or a 64-bit operating system? Let me know in the comments. And if this video helped you understand the technology inside your PC, subscribe for more.